Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting us to this session. We are thrilled to present our research project here at the Nordic VR Forum conference. My name is Birgitte Sauge.
And I am Qvale, and we will make this presentation together.
We start the presentation with a video from the Forest in the House exploring parallel realities, an exhibition experiment conducted February-March 2018 in the Glass Pavilion in the Architecture Museum, a part of the National Museum of Art, Architecture and Design in Oslo. What you will see is a gallery space, the model of the landscape and a house in one-to-one scale. While watching the video, we recommend you to notice the three parallel realities or situations the visitor is exploring through sight, hearing and motion. The actual natural site, a virtual house and a physical installation of the landscape or house. Through an on-site multisensory and social experience, our aim has been to push the limits of the current VR technology. An important question for us as curators in the field of architecture in a museum is, how do architecture museums engage with their audiences in the 21st century? Virtual reality is becoming identified as an emerging development in museum exhibition design that allows visitors to interact with objects and places that might not be easily accessible or feasible. Based on our exhibition experiment, we will add that this technology also opened possibilities for engagement and interaction with born digital architecture. However, we are just beginning to understand how the museum visitors interact with each other, navigate and make meaning in light of these digitally mediated experiences. The architects involved in this experiment is the firm Atelier Oslo. Communicating their philosophy and design thinking was one of the starting points for the experiment. The architectural idea of the forest in the house can be summarized as ideals and concepts between the human body, nature and architectural space. We quote, "Walks in the forest give us foundational experiences that sit deep in the body and in memory. The surroundings, trees, the contact to the ground, and the variations in the landscape give a good feeling. Moving through the forest means encountering more new places. Still, clearings between the trees are like small rooms, and edges in the terrain are like benches to sit on. Places that give an overview of the surroundings invites us to stop." In the forest in the house, many of these spatial qualities that we know from walks in the forest are recreated. An actual site by the Oslo Fjord was 3D scanned and reproduced as a digital model that could be developed. Nature was transformed into basic architectural elements. Trees transformed into columns, the forest floor into terraced levels, while the branches became vaults and the leaves became a light filter that surrounds the house. End of quote. The exhibition experiment was part of the interdisciplinary and trans-institutional research project Mediascape Digital Design Media in Architecture Museums, a collaboration between scholars from the Education Department, University of Oslo, architecture historians at the Architecture Department of the Norwegian National Museum, and architects from Atelier Oslo. In addition, we had a VR graphic designer in the team. His competence and knowledge about VR technology was of vital importance for the extraordinary design and results. Finally, we collaborated with an external research team on the soundscape. 3 research lenses were staked out: exhibition practices, museum digital media. Each lens comprises a specific field of inquiry, and distinct sets of aims and questions were formulated by all team members in a collaborative process. This informed both design decisions for the exhibition experiment, but it also guided the research. The experiment was organized as a design-based research project, with research questions reflecting the 3 different competences engaged in the project. Our main research questions were: will digital technologies such as VR and digital sound be able to engage today's audience? For example, both learning, experiencing, and exploring architecture. What kind of bodily or sensory experiences in architecture exhibitions can be fostered using VR in connection with physical installations? Will the visitors be able to acknowledge the specific intended architectural qualities in the installation? Now I will give the floor to my colleague Anne Qvale, who will present some of our findings regarding the research on meaning making based on the visitor studies we conducted.
Yeah, hello. For the experiment, we created an intimate and closely guided museum experience. We prepared the visitors more than typically, telling them that this is a special setting, an experiment, not a normal installation. We wrote several texts in addition to an oral explanation. In the intro text, we wrote, among other things, that this was an unusual architectural experience that brought together technology and physical building elements that put the senses into play. The visitor was encouraged to discover the virtual building while moving around in the real building element, listening to the sound in the room and in the headphones. We made a detailed description of what each visitor should do, such as taking off the clothes and shoes, putting on all the technical equipment, and how the calibration was to take place. We also created some prompts for the exhibition experiment itself. Help your partner move around and settle on the physical building element. Look for connections and transitions between nature and the house. Look for relationships between qualities and characteristics in nature and qualities and characteristics in architecture. In addition, we encouraged the visitor to read the text. Everyone was given an oral explanation by one of the curators, as we especially encouraged each pair to talk together and throughout the walk. While helping the visitor to put on the VR equipment and guide them through the calibration, we also explained a little about the architect's intention with the project without going into detail. It became a very personal experience, more like a laboratory. The complete data corpus consisted of 9 hours of video recordings, questionnaires with 22 questions, soundscapes, interviews, and documentation. And here you see a close-up of the stage. This is the ground plan for the complete virtual house. The part on the right with the 2 windows is the correlated physical model the visitors walk around in. The rest of the house is only virtual. By creating a meeting between the basics of architecture and the basics of nature, The architects at Atelier Oslo want to create a form of architecture that is varied and informal and arouses curiosity and gives the feeling of belonging. And here we see an excerpt of under the heading Imagination and Inhabiting. And I quote, Visitor 1, it could be comfortable here, right? Visitor 2, I suppose so. Visitor 1, yes. Visitor 2, especially with the weather here. Visitor 1, you can pick up a bottle of wine, or white wine. Visitor 2, yeah. Visitor 1, champagne maybe. Isn't that what one drinks? Visitor 2, some shrimps and baguettes.
Så går vi tilbake inn i motoren nå.
Se bakover. Og så se litt lenger til venstre. Nei, stopp. Og så trykk, og så gå inn i huset igjen. Ja. Ser du den stolpen?
Oh, ja.
Som er 3?
And here are some examples from the findings of the survey. Statement, I found that there were similarities between the scene in nature and the scene in the house. If we put the 2 points together where the visitors strongly agree, we found that 58% strongly agree that there were similarities between the scene in nature and the scene in the house. And the next statement, the combination of physical and virtual element was important for my experience of architecture. And 78.8% meant the combination of physical and virtual was important for their experience of architecture. And here the statement was, moving in the physical room gave a rich and bodily experience. 67.5% experienced that the moving in the physical room gave a rich bodily experience. And 100% would recommend this installation to a friend. Multisensory exhibitions where visitors can walk, talk, see, hear and touch give an extended, rich and bodily experiences of architecture. It means a challenge to the current VR technology. And the combination of virtual and physical element was significantly. And this combination is a strong tool for communicate both architecture and architects' intentions. For planning new exhibition, this is important knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.